Hi guys, welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. This is our live fan reaction show after the Tottenham Hotspur 1, West Ham United 2 game. Christian Romero scored early doors from a corner for Spurs, but then goals from Jared Bowen and James Ward-Prowse destroyed our optimism once again. The second watch along in a row that Ash from Southview COYS and I have watched together, and the same thing has happened as that Aston Villa game. But guys, thank you so much for watching, for tuning in. Please do give us a shout, give us a call in all the usual ways if you want to speak to us tonight. My name is Barnaby Slater from the Spurred On podcast. You can find my handle in the title of this show. Give me a follow, press the bell button and a subscribe, and at Southview COYS for Ash. But let's get straight into it, Ash. We talked a little bit about it, of course, in the post-match reaction show. How has your temper changed in the 5 minutes since we finished that show? Or are we both still as depressed as we were then?
Oh man, it's hard out here. Life comes at you fast. That's what I can say,
Escalates quickly.
But yeah, literally, being a Spurs fan, you kind of get used to this. But I mean, we wasn't used to Ange Ball. We were really excited, so upbeat, and I think that's what hurts more. That the fact that we've just fallen from grace.
Yeah,
we had an opportunity to really impact that top 4 race. And I think that's what's rattled a lot of fans, the fact that we had the opportunity to move into that position. So, yeah, in my opinion, I just think West Ham are rivals as well.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's what stings. I think
what stings is all their fans are going to be jumping around, filming themselves, putting it all on social media. West Ham are massive everywhere we go, all that stuff. So frustrating.
I mean, if we played awful, if West Ham broke us down, if they played through us, if they even scored from set pieces, I could handle that. But the fact that they didn't do any of that and we were the demise for our own downfall, I think that's what hurts even more. And we had no end product. I think that's what most fans are annoyed at. Yeah. And the changes as well. It's just a catalogue of things. It's not just one.
Let's see what some of our regulars, some of our fans have to say about it. Arian, who is a regular, amazingly, looks like he's driving at the same time. Very impressive and potentially illegal, but we'll go with it. Arian, how are you, mate?
Arian.
Oh, we can't hear you.
I was on mute.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, right. turn yourself up a bit, Arian, and how are you feeling about the game?
Look, man, I don't think I'm as down as everybody else is, because I see that I'm seeing the fuller picture. I'm seeing the bigger picture. You look at what we're going through as a club. First of all, I want to remind everybody, unashamedly, we are 0 wins in 5, and we are 2 points off the Premier League title. I'm not going to say anything besides that. And I'm just saying, put it into context. Imagine at any point last season, if we were winless in 5, we would be miles away from top 4. Okay? We are 1 game within top 4 right now as it stands, with 0 wins in 5. Probably the worst injury crisis I've ever seen at Spurs, maybe besides the one right before COVID. And here we are, upset about a game that we lost, not because we got, completely destroyed like we used to. I don't think I could write 2 luckier goals for West Ham if I tried. I really don't think I could write a luckier game for West Ham if I tried. And I think that's kind of where the frustration comes from, because we absolutely deserved a result in that, just like we did, in 4 of our last 5 games. But it didn't come. And that's because of individuals, that's because of bad luck, that's because of just a lot of factors, all of which are necessarily in our hands. And I'm looking at that entire picture and I'm saying, look, if you keep working just like the way we are, over time, which there's a lot of it on our side, we're going to go to some magnificent heights. Was this game frustrating? Absolutely. But I'm really still really optimistic. I'm not going to I'm trying to see a full picture. I'm trying to see the bigger picture, and I encourage everybody else to do that, because I think if you look at the bigger picture, there's a lot of promise, because this period can also be seen as a troubleshooting period almost, because that's kind of what it is. You see, everything that can go wrong is going wrong, and that's exactly the kind of things that can hide when things are going well. When things are going well, the way they were in the first 10 games, we didn't see all the problems we have right now, and unfortunately, it doesn't matter what we see, it matters what the guys above us see, the Daniel Levy's of this world. And right now, he can't hide anywhere. And I think that is going to, this run of games is also going to be his biggest kind of reason to go into January with the mindset of buy something. It's similar to how in the season where we got top 4 with Conte, right before January, we were on a wretched run of form, and then we got in the double buy of Bentancur and Kulusevski, and it changed our season. I think we're in a similar position right now, and I think we're going to see a similar thing at the end of the season.
Arian, can I say I love the positivity. Is it possible, though, that because you live in a climate where everything is blue around you and the sun is out, it's much easier for you to be positive than we currently feel in a very dark, cold, wet England? But I do love the positivity. Ash, what do you think about all of his points?
He's got a point, but is there anything that you would change between now and Newcastle? Because let's face it, we were good, but it feels like, as we said before, have we been figured out slightly?
I don't think you could say that. I don't think it's, I mean, look, in the first, figured out is a very strong, I mean, that first goal. I mean, if that's what figuring us out is, then I would encourage every team in the league to try to score that first goal a second time. I really would. So if that's figuring it out, I'm all for figuring us out. I don't think you can say we figured it out. I don't think anything like that is figuring out. West Ham play like that against everybody. They don't know how to attack. They don't know how to do anything. They sit there with 10 men behind the ball because they have no confidence, no ability, no skill, and no tactics, really. They're playing like, you know, some of the worst football I've ever seen, and sometimes it works. And we know that because we have to endure that for 4 years. So I wouldn't say we figured it out at all. That's like saying, yeah, no, I don't, that's ridiculous. So I don't think that whatsoever, and I don't think Newcastle are going to play the way that West Ham did. I think probably the only change I would have made for today is, I think Højbjerg is kind of the player you bring on instead of Gil. I think if Gil played with Kulusevski playing in midfield from the get-go, we would have had a lot more danger in that first 45, and then we could have brought on Højbjerg to kind of guide us through the next 45. I think that's the best Højbjerg has been when he's been brought on. I don't think he's been great starting, and I don't know why that is, but that's just been what I've been seeing. So I'd probably make that change, but even then, I don't think like necessarily the team selection was too poor. I don't want to blame the changes on him either, because I don't think he had much option to change it up. You know, even if he wanted. So I don't want to play anything on the tactics or the team selection, because I don't think the performance was really nearly as bad as the results suggest, because we could have blown them away in that first half alone. And even that second half, the goals they scored were genuinely that's the kind of the goals were just the kind of goals that I would, you know, concede on FIFA and yell, this game's unrealistic and rigged. So it's not something that I'm concerned about, because it's not a kind of game that we're going to have very often. You know, I know the results suggest that it is going to be, but you know, the way a lot of these games have unfolded have been for a myriad of reasons. Like, if we had Romero in the Aston Villa game, I don't think that result would have happened. I don't think the goals there were necessarily lucky. I think they just had more physical prowess than we did. But this time, I mean, they were literally just as lucky as a goal gets. I don't think West Ham will have a luckier game in the history of their club, and I mean that genuinely.
Can I bring up something that you've mentioned? Obviously, West Ham's first goal being very lucky. The shot they had from outside the box that ricochets off two of our defenders, and then they're through on goal on the 6-yard line. Is that something that we should look at and be like, well, why aren't we taking more shots from just outside the box? Or is it the case that we don't have players who have that in their locker to hit it from 23, 24 yards, and that's why they're not doing it?
I mean, we hit a relatively decent amount of shots outside the box. I know Bissouma had a couple goes, Poro had a couple goes, Lo Celso had a couple goes. Probably, I think the only player that isn't shooting from outside enough is Son, and that's because he's inside the box too much. Besides that, I don't think really the shots out of the box are a huge issue. We've even scored plenty. I mean, Lo Celso scored 2 out of the box this season alone in the last 2 games. I remember Romero scored 1 against Burnley. I don't think shots outside the box are a main concern, really. There was a couple moments where I was kind of screaming, have a go, and they didn't. But I mean, you know, and if you want to play sustainable football where you want to create higher quality chances more often, so I don't think shooting kind of pot shots very often is going to get us anywhere. So I think like the ratio of shots inside and outside the box is fine. It's not an area I'm concerned about. I don't think that's a tweak that would have, you know, really changed our game today.
I love his positivity.
Arian, talk to me about the performances of Johnson. I want to get your views on that.
Look, I think this was probably his worst performance in the Spurs shirt, and I don't think he was as bad as a lot of people are making him out. I think that first half, he looks like he's giving it too quickly. He's not taking his time. I'd like to see him take his man on a little bit more, get a little bit more creative. That's why I wanted him to start the game, you know, on that left-hand side where Johnson also is more comfortable on his on the right with his right foot. I don't think he was necessarily that bad. I think there was some examples. Again, a lot of people are judging Johnson on his final ball today, which was subpar. But I think a lot of his overall game was still actually much stronger than people realize, because they just don't realize who's doing what, because our team is so fluid that sometimes it goes under the radar what someone else is doing when you're doing someone else's job. Udogie ends up playing left wing sometimes, and that turns out Johnson's playing left back, taking his spot, and then he makes like a great tackle or he keeps the game going and ticking, and people don't realize that because it's not necessarily obvious for a left winger, so you're going to focus on those balls that he missed or those shots that were weak. But I don't think it's something that, I don't think his performance is worrying long term. He's a young player. He's not going to drop a 10 out of 10 every single game. That's not realistic, and that's, this is normal. And I don't think his performance was necessarily really bad. I don't think he cost us the game by any means. I think he was unlucky. There was one moment where he was in the box. Cross came in from I forgot who it was. The cross came in and it was blocked. It was Lo Celso, and it was blocked. If that cross doesn't get blocked, Johnson scores a goal. We're not talking about this at all day, and we go 2-0 up. Happy days. Nothing's wrong. So. He was a little bit unlucky, and I think just generally the gist from Spurs today, I wouldn't say it was necessarily super poor or that we caused our own demise, which we kind of did to some degree, especially with that second goal. But I think our demise really, there was just a lot of bad fortune that went against us too, and that's part of the sport. The same way that good fortune sometimes goes for us, and we scored 2 goals in 2 minutes against Sheffield United. It happens. And this is one of those days where you take it on the chin and you move on. And next game we have Newcastle, who have an injury crisis just like us, and they play much more fluid football. They press more. They're much more positive, and that's the kind of football I think that's going to be a big breath of fresh air for our attack compared to this completely just terroristic Moyes ball. So I think Newcastle is another chance where we can go and we can get a result for sure.
Okay, brilliant, Aaron. Thank you so much for speaking to us, mate. We've got quite a few people looking to speak tonight, so. Yeah. We'll speak to you next time, hopefully after a win against Newcastle on Sunday, mate. Thanks so much.
Yep. And as always, come on, you Spurs!
Damn right. I love his positivity. Even more positive. I mean, I like to usually think of myself as pretty positive, but tonight a little bit of the energy has been sucked out of me by David Moyes. But I loved how he's positive, and I loved how much he slagged off West Ham like it's their fault. It was their fault that we lost tonight. Let's talk to Mikey. Mikey, good to see you, mate. How are you feeling?
Mikey,
the positivity was what? Are you sorry?
The positive what?
What's that?
No, I'm just messing. No, how in the fuck have we lost that?
I'll tell you how. I'm joking. Yeah, go for it. Unload, bro.
I can't. I don't have anything more to say. There's a fucking pattern emerging. We score first. We pay them. We don't take our chances. They get another goal either right before halftime or right after halftime, and we lose all momentum.
Yeah,
it's a pattern, and it's sad because West Ham are a perfect team for this to happen to us against, because they sit deep and absorb pressure and then break on the counter when we don't have a pass master like James Maddison in the team, or Rodrigo Bentancur for that matter. It kind of falls apart. Lo Celso is more of a goal scorer than a creator. There's not much more to say. It's a fucking pattern.
Just on that point as well, what did you make of that substitution then of Lo Celso coming off when we were at 1-1?
Maybe he's wrapping him in cotton wool. I'm not sure. Lo Celso hasn't got much game time. Maybe it's a cotton wool situation. Try and affect the game in different ways, give other players a chance, try and create a winning formula, see if there's anything that could change the game. There's a whole multitude of reasons for it. I'm not one to try and act like I've got more knowledge than the man leading our football club at the moment.
But would you have taken him off? Would you have taken off someone else, is what I'm saying? Do you think it was the right decision?
I mean, I don't know. At that point, the game was there for the taking. It's not Lo Celso's fault that we end up going 2-1 down. It's not Lo Celso's fault that we don't get back into the game. That's very much with the defence. So I think the midfield and attacking substitutions, they were there to be made to try and chase the game. And with Lo Celso coming off, he played like 90 minutes against Man City. And it was obvious there was a complete lack of fitness in this game. They were walking at 1-1 in the second half. There was just no intensity.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, Mikey, actually, is like you mentioned the pattern. Do you feel that pattern is, something that opposition teams have noticed and therefore are saying, do you think David Moyes said, stay within 1 goal, stay 0-0 if you can, or 1-0 down, and then they will drop off? And do you think that is because we are fatigued and we don't have the fitness required to play this style of football?
I mean, we've got to play the same 11 every week, right? We were doing it at the beginning of the year, but that was probably because we were coming into it and we were playing like 1-2 games at most over a 2-week period. Now the games are starting to rack up, and injuries combined with that, and suspensions have now left us in this perilous situation. You know, ultimately, the best thing about tonight has been Newcastle being beat 3-0 by Everton. You know, that must be demoralising. And but obviously we're on a 5-match winless run. So at the same time, I don't know how much more deflated both teams can get at this point, because ultimately we've gone from title pretenders to top four underdogs, if you will, in the space of 5 games.
Do you think Newcastle will adopt the same strategy against us?
No, of course not.
Away from home?
No, Newcastle. I watched the first 45 of Everton versus Newcastle today. It took Everton until like the 70th or the 80th minute to score, and Newcastle were very much in it for the beginning of the game. And I just don't see a world in which we will expect Newcastle to play the same way that other teams have against us. I think they'll come at us.
I think they'll be similar to Villa. To Villa, which is that they defend. Sorry to interrupt, mate. They do defend very well and very tight, but on the transition, they're super dangerous.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the amount of times we've got Richarlison and Alejo Valise, and we're trying to score. Like there was, I think it was on Amazon. I can't remember who the coach. I think Alan Shearer said it perfectly. He said they're trying to score the perfect goal. They're trying to score the perfect goal, and it's like I'm not against that, but the amount of times our wingers, even when Sonny went out to the wing, the amount of time our wingers would cut back looking for a pass. It's like we have 2 physical number 9s on the pitch for a reason. If you swing a crossing, the worst thing that happens, it deflects out for a corner, or you get the rub of the green, so to speak. There are multiple times, and the times we did put the cross, it was too close to the goalkeeper. They looked like they were scared to put a cross in, and we had 2 physical number 9s in the box for that reason. So I'm not sure what else there was to do today. Our tactics didn't work, and against West Ham especially, they were happy to let us have the ball because they knew we wouldn't penetrate them with it, and lo and behold, we didn't.
So what do you think needs to change then, moving forward? Do you think we start with the same team, like with a Højbjerg and Basuma as the double pivot, and Lo Celso playing the 10, or do you think that needs to switch around, put Kulusevski? Because what did you make of Kulusevski's performance? That's a double-ended question there.
It's the same as it's so often the case with Kulusevski. He runs and runs and runs, but there's just not enough end product. And today that was so evident. He moved into the centre and looked worse than he did out on the wing. He moved back out to the wing. He looked ineffective. He was running constantly, and he tried to be industrious, but there simply wasn't enough room. Emerson had him pocketed, let's be honest here. And in the small moments that he did get the ball, there was no penetrative passing. There wasn't a forward pass. There wasn't a through ball. He was constantly being shepherded onto his right foot, which he doesn't use.
Yeah, it was good defending. I would be tempted against Newcastle to bring him back into the centre, but the worry is there how easily Kieran Trippier might deal with Bryan Hill out on the left, so I'm not sure. Mikey, look, mate, thanks so much for calling. We've got quite a few people looking to get on, so we'll speak to you again next time. Really appreciate it. Before we go on to our next caller, we've got a message from Azad Hamid, who's one of our members, who says, I'm sorry, Højbjerg needs to go. Guy's tripping over himself. How is this guy a professional footballer? And also, why take Lo Celso off for Skip? Poor. Obviously, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg did do an air shot in the first half. Well, an air cross, I think it was. But I don't know. I think I'd give him 6 out of 10 other than that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
he wasn't
the problem, but
he's also not the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword, Like you said, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, Bryan Hill or Højbjerg, and we decided to go with Højbjerg.
Yeah. And if Rishi had scored that header, we wouldn't be talking about it now. But let's go to Wes the King, another man who I think is driving whilst getting on with us. Wes, how are you doing, mate?
How you guys doing?
Could be better, my bro. Could be better,
Man.
We move.
Man, this right here is ridiculous. And I agree completely with what the last person was saying with him subbing out Lo Celso when we're this low on talent, especially people who can put the ball in the back of the net, and especially when you have a striker who's coming off the bench who is, just has no real scoring prowess to him at all. And then when he does show it, it's against very much lesser competition. But we have nobody out there who can put the ball in the back of the net. When you sub out one of our main goal scorers who's been scoring the last few games for Skip, who hasn't scored. I don't think he even scored for the club. If he has scored for the club, it was like a year or two ago. Why do that? I understand. Yeah, he loses a lot of stamina by the second half, but he makes it a consistent basis to sub Lo Celso out in the second half. And to me, it doesn't make no freaking sense because only him and Son can score. If it's not nobody else. And Kulusevski, I'm upset with him because I think it just shows his limitations, especially as a winger, that he's so left-footed and he has no ability to use his right foot at all. He can't even get in across with his right foot, but he's playing on the right side. And at this point, I think we're more dangerous when the ball is just jangling around our opposition's box. So to me, I'll say put Kulusevski on the left wing so he can be able to put a cross in, and also put Johnson on the right side, which he's used to playing on the right side when he's playing for Forest, and see what we do there, and see if we can get crosses in the box, and see, if something falls our way where we can get a shot off. Because we have players who are in our midfield who just don't take quick shots. They don't like to take long shots. When the coach has been imploring for them to take long shots, they're not doing it. They're too hesitant. And when they do it, it's too long of a wind-up to even take the shot. And then by that point, it's already getting blocked, which happened to Basuma like 3 times. So I don't know what to do with this, but I'm super disappointed. And then the way we got that West Ham got that second goal was ridiculous. I mean, it was that, it's pretty much that word that the rest of the world like to use on us. I'm not going to say it, but, it's pretty much that word. It's the spur and then the last word to it, because that's exactly what it is, because that goal was freaking ridiculous. Me and my dad were watching the game. My dad just literally put his head down. He walked outside. And he's not even a Spurs fan. He's not a Spurs fan. He watches it because I like Spurs. And so
he's seen it happen so much.
Side supporter. Yeah, he's become kind of like a side supporter. So yeah, and he walked out because he was like, what the hell is that? These so-called professional players, So it's ridiculous.
Wes, what do you think we need in January? Because we had a lot of the ball. Yeah, we had chances, but I don't think we created a lot of chances.
No, not at all.
We didn't test the keeper enough, in my opinion.
Nope.
But yeah, what do you think we need in January moving forward?
Oh man.
Where do you start?
First thing is a center back. That's going to be we need somebody to substitute on as a center back. So we probably need 2 center backs actually, because I think Dyer and Davies is just not going to be the answer of if those guys are going to be our backup center backs. We need a new establishment of who our backup center backs are going to be for this point forward. Even if that's a young cat to come in, if Postecoglou believes that a young player is good enough to come off the bench for us in the first team, then that's who we need to go after. But he said in the conference a couple weeks ago that they are already preparing for January transfer window and all that. So hopefully the first idea is to get at least 1 center back in for January and work on the second one in summer is probably the more realistic opportunity. And then I say we need to go after a dynamic winger, somebody who can actually dribble and attack opposition. We have nobody on our team. Yeah, we got some good dribblers, but most of them are hurt now. We got Bentancur who's out. You got Madison who's out. Most of the guys who can dribble, who don't care about dribbling at a defender. We got too many players that are too worried about making a mistake. And I saw Hill when he came out there, he would get the ball in the right areas, but then he's so left-footed as well. He doesn't know how to use his right foot either, and he ends up getting turned off from the play, and then he has to go out and go backwards. You saw him do that 2 times when he got the ball in the final third. It's ridiculous. We don't have players that are dynamic. Except for like Son is able to, but that's only when he gets like a good full like stretcher of when he get his legs out, he can actually go at defenders when he's on. But that's when he's like off the break. He doesn't really do it just off the rip. We have nobody off the rip who could just dribble at a defender. And then when we're playing this kind of offense, or this kind of attacking style, we need dynamic dribblers, and we only have so many. We only have Bentancur, Madison, Son. You know, I look at all our other midfielders. They're not dribblers. So,
Oh, you're breaking up.
Where's you're breaking up? I'm afraid.
You know, I'm breaking.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit, but I totally get what you're saying. I would add Lo Celso to that list. He's another player who can take it on the half turn and has been doing it well. That's why I was so gutted to see him kind of come off at 65 minutes. Wes, thank you so much for calling in. More great opinions. We're having some really good calls tonight, and not all of them as negative as I kind of expected they might be, which is good. Bringing my energy up, slowly bringing my energy up, Ash. Next up, we've got Rovshan. Rovshan, how are you feeling, mate? What did you make of the game?
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, man.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating, isn't it? Like, I want to look at the game and say, we didn't win that game. But then I watched the game and we didn't score an open goal. Like, the only goal we scored was a corner, came from a corner, yeah. Two of the West Ham's goals were so lucky and idiotic by Spurs. Unfortunately, they were. But in the end, we were not able to score, which is frustrating. Yeah, that pressing high up front, playing attacking football is all good to see. But when there isn't an end product, it's very frustrating. And it's just, let's be honest, we are in relegation form. And like in the last 5 games, only 1 point. But that's just mad. Like, considering the start we had to the season, now dropping from 1st to 5th, like, for just that's just the Chelsea game broke us, isn't it? Yeah. Like after that, we never were ourselves, and it's mad to think that 3 home games, no wins. Like I just can't believe what I'm seeing at the moment. I know it's the same thing. I never criticize managers, whether it was Conte, Mourinho, Postecoglou. Now it's always the players, isn't it? The level of the players in general isn't top. That's why we don't know how to win the games like other top teams, Arsenal or Manchester City. At the moment, at least Liverpool.
Who's the player for you, Rovshan? Sorry to cut you. Who's the player for you that stands out, that is the weak link in Tottenham's chain?
Front line, Kulusevski. I don't like him. I'm sorry. Like, just never been the same since that January period from until the end under Conte. Never been the same. Last season, awful season. This season, yeah, he had some good games. You have to give him that credit. But let's say 15 games. We have played 15 games. Yeah, 4 or 5 of them he has had some like good performances. But in the end, he just has the ball. He's whenever I watch Tottenham, Kulusevski is the attacker that had the ball more than anyone else in the Tottenham. But in the end, he's the one that doesn't do enough for the ball he has on his feet, like for the amount of the time he has the ball. Because in the end, every time it goes to the right, and Kulusevski runs with it, and tries to do things, but in the end, nothing. Just hits the player, hits the defender, tries to cross it. I don't like Kulusevski. And when it comes to Brennan Johnson, he plays out of position, I think. He's not good left winger, in my opinion. And Son, when it comes to Son, it's the same thing. We always said Son is always good against the teams that play like us, or at least doesn't play defensively. But when it comes to playing against low block teams, he just doesn't score. He's not there. He's not the guy to head the ball, be physical, have aerial ability like Kane, Haaland. He's not that guy. He needs to have space to finish it. He's a great finisher and nothing else. I'm sorry. Like Son is not the Son I want to see heading like being up top for Tottenham. That's why I think we need to buy some attackers in the January, because I don't think Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson, these people are young, but they are not as threatening as like Saka, Martinelli maybe. I don't like Kulusevski, especially him. I just want him to be changed to be maybe a central midfielder. That's where he plays good. At least he showed in the last 2-3 games. But in the wing, he's just not that. He's not threatening. He's not dangerous. No, I don't think opponents are straight.
It's worth saying that Saka and Martinelli and Jesus, they've had at least a couple of years together. Saka and Martinelli have been blooded over like the last 4 years. So they're a lot further along in the project. But, that's not me saying that your points aren't valid. They are. I kind of agree. I like the way Kulusevski looks in the 10, and I do wonder whether if Kulusevski had played in the 10 with Gio and the 8 and Basuma tonight, maybe we would have cut West Ham open a bit more. But then also there's an argument to say there were times where Højbjerg won the ball back for us in midfield and we might have been left a little bit more open. It's easy to say after the fact. It's worth saying, Rovshan, obviously only 3 days till our next game against Newcastle. It's worth asking, how do you think that game against Newcastle is going to go?
Yeah, that's a good point, spending a lot of time together. Against Newcastle, look, Newcastle is a very good team. They're much better than West Ham. Probably better than us, because of the project they're with Eddie Howe for so long. Oh, it's very hard to predict. I'm not confident at all.
What do you think needs to change then? You're not confident, but what do you think needs to change for you to be more confident or more positive?
Yeah, I don't know. Just defending, maybe. We need to score goals. We're not good enough up front. We definitely need to score goals. And let's say it's not out of possibility that we can't lose against Newcastle. If we lose to Newcastle, that's 4 games in a row at home that we will lose and 6 games winless. That's mad, actually. I don't know what needs to change, but we need to change. That's definitely must thing to do because otherwise we are in a crisis. We are in a relegation form. The only one that I back until the end is Ange Postecoglou because I don't think blaming managers is gonna be the solution for Tottenham. And I'm not pessimistic. Yeah, I sounded so pessimistic until now because the reason that I say that I'm not pessimistic because it's the long season, but we can't afford to sack Postecoglou. That's why I want to mention that I back him until the end. Yeah. He needs to have his full season, and it's not a conversation even. Just no need to mention. But just it's frustrating. I don't know. I'm so angry that I want to say everything because when was the last time we won a game? I can't remember. It has to be.
Are Spurs unlucky? Are Spurs unlucky, or are Spurs just lacking in ideas? Lacking in ideas. Which one would you say more? Which side would you say more is?
Yeah, I've been a Spurs fan for the 6 years now. It has been 6 years that I've been a Spurs fan. Under Conte, even under Mourinho, we always start well to the season, mostly from what I remember. And when we crumble, we really crumble. When we lose a game after a good run, we don't just lose one game. We just crumble. Everything is just very, whether it's injuries, whether it's performances going down immediately, we crumble. That's why, I don't like the word, but it's the Spursism. We always crumble in the beginning of the season. Yeah, our Spurs title challenges, they are so good. 1 game a week. Everyone is talking about us. Maybe everyone shouldn't talk about us because it doesn't affect us in a good way, and we crumble. That's the mentality has to change. I would answer like that. That's why we need to have monsters in mentality from players.
Isn't it? That's basically what Conte said when he threw his toys out of the prams. Rovshan, thank you so much for calling, mate. Really good as per
thank you.
All of our guests tonight. Really great. Just before we get our next guest on, I'm going to read out a couple of comments. Raj Cantilia says this rebuild is going to take 3 to 5 transfer windows. Depends if Levy backs Ange. I'm going to say again what I think I said last time I was here. I completely agree with that. And let's not forget, Jurgen Klopp needed 3 or 4 transfer windows, maybe even more. He started with players like Nathaniel Klein, like Adam Lallana. Good player, but not the kind of players who got them to the next level. It is going to take time. Also, just going to quote Charlie Vale here in the comments, Rovshan bringing the depressive mood back. He was, but I don't disagree with anything he said. Let's go on to KPV. KPV, you're looking comfortable at home there. How uncomfortable are you feeling after that performance tonight?
On half of us to the tag team champions.
I'm not feeling good. Still not well, got a cold, but I appreciate the support. I appreciate what they do and everyone, but yeah, like Romero comes back, first game back, and we lose. Like we've not actually won a game when Brendan Johnson has started. We haven't won. Like he was out, and when we beat Fulham and Palace, and when he started, we haven't won. Like seriously, what's going on, man? Like
say Gareth Bale vibes.
Brennan Johnson, when he started, we haven't won a game. Like, what's going on, man? It's basically like, I don't know, the 21-22 season. Last season, when we lost 3 games in a row under Conte, the season we bought Kulu, we went to Man City and won, and we lost 3 games in a row. And now this is 4 in a row. Like, surely we need to bounce back. We should have won on the weekend, but Kulu and Son and Lo Celso love scoring against City with somehow their bogey team, and they can play all they want. But yeah, they got done over. We should have won that game, and they love scoring against City. And now we lose home to these lot who they've only got coming into this game. They only had 1 win at our place, and now they've won there again. But the last time they won at our new ground, that was actually our first game. No, that was Palace versus then West Ham. It was under Manuel Pellegrini, who always seemed to beat us, and we couldn't beat him. But at least with him, it was the London Stadium. And then we lose our new stadium to these lot. They've now got 2 wins. Chelsea have 4, Newcastle have 2. Like, what's going on? We seem to lose to a team, our bogey team, and Villa seem to get lucky. I don't know what's going on. But I said to everyone before the Newcastle game away last season, they would be a 6-1. I was right, but I'm sorry, but they're going to be a 2-1 at home again, like they did in October last year. So
I was hoping for some positivity there.
They're beating us at 2-1 again. But Callum Wilson's not going to play because he's out. He always seems to score, but they've got Almiron and Joe Linton always seems to turn up against us. So
Isak.
I know that he got 2. He didn't score at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because Joe Linton scored a few goals against us, and he always seems to turn up. And the Southampton captain, West Ham guy, he always seems to score against us. I went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Southampton. We lost 3-2, and he didn't score, but he got a few assists. And we should have beaten Southampton at theirs under Conte in December 2021. We were robbed, and I don't know how that wasn't a penalty, but Southampton and West Ham always seem to beat us, and Liverpool is the nemesis. Like, every player seems to score against us.
The script. The script, I like to talk about the script and the players who always score against us too, KPV. Yeah, completely agree.
Something needs to change on Sunday. And why take off Lo Celso, man? Seriously. Like, he took Son and Madison off in the North London derby, and we still drew. But it's basically like Mourinho all over again. 3-0 up, then he takes off Kane and Son, and we draw 3-3. And basically, they came back and drew 3-3 under Moyes, and now he's got 3 wins against us. Lucky Scottish bastard. But your country won't be making it out of the group in the Euros, mate. So good luck with that. But we have to beat them at theirs in the new year because our record there is actually not bad. Only 1 loss, but we have to beat them at theirs, and we still need to beat Villa at theirs because Matty Cash should have been off. He ended off the start this season under Conte. We got top 1. Then he started the Bentancur, just came back after nearly 8 months out, and now he's injured again. Now, what's going on? Seriously.
Yeah, mate, I completely agree. I'm actually just what you were saying has made me think. I think it'll be really intriguing to see how Eddie Howe sets up against us on Sunday, because he's seen that if they just play narrow, then we're not going to get in behind them centrally, right? But also he's got players, as you mentioned, KPV, like Guimaraes, Joe Linton, who aren't going to want to just play narrow. They're going to want to be expansive on the ball. And do you know what? I think it could be a goal fest. I think it could be another 4-3, 3-2.
Yeah, true. Like 3-2. Like we beat Newcastle at theirs 3-2 when that was Steve Bruce's last game in charge, and we all know what happened. Reguilon told the referee to stop the game because the Newcastle fan collapsed in the stand. So yeah, Dyer and Reguilon told the referee to stop. So gone on to them. That was almost 2 years ago before I went to Blackpool. So well done, boys.
You have an encyclopedic memory of what happens in Spurs games, KPV. KPV, thanks so much for calling. We've got lots of people trying to get on the line, but we appreciate it. We'll speak to you again after the Newcastle game. Hopefully it will be a victory this time.
We'll win because we need to bounce back. So, yeah, see you soon, guys. And as always, Levy out.
Big up KPV, man.
Definitely Levy's fault for us losing tonight, that's for sure. Let's move on quickly to Alexander. How are you doing, Alexander? How are you feeling? What did you make of the game? Oh, I think you're on mute, mate.
Oh. Still on mute. Oh, there you are. Nope.
Well, KPV wasn't close enough to his microphone. I'm not sure if Alexander's microphone is working. Keep trying, Alexander. We're going to stick with you. We'll just keep talking a little bit while Alexander tries to sort that out.
Maybe come out and come back in. That might be an
possibly.
idea.
Mentioning that, mentioning that Newcastle game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're due to absolutely pulverize someone. Could that happen, or is that like wishful thinking because it's nearly the witching hour?
You know what? To be fair, at home, performance-wise, we actually look good on the eye. But again, it's just that clinical edge that we're missing. And I think we have Alexander back. Let's see if we can get him on.
Alexander, any chance? Any danger? No, still silent, which is frustrating for all of us. I'm going to have to say it. I didn't want to, but how many more points would we have if Harry Kane was playing up front?
Is that what we're doing now, yeah? I mean, yeah.
Because in a game like this, the reason I say it is because in a game like tonight, proven over the years, Harry Kane would take it by the scruff of the neck, come deep, and if necessary, let Son run on, play those balls in, even some of his crossing that he used to do. Okay, so here's my bigger question.
Okay.
Did we do the right thing selling him for 100 million euros, or should we have kept him for a season and let him go for free and hope that would have pushed us? So, we might have 8 more points now.
I don't know if that was our choice, if I'm being honest. I think
I don't think it was our choice. I mean, it was our choice in the end. We could have held on to him.
I just felt like that deal was done from Man City when he was rattled from then. And yeah, but I mean, we can ask our guests. They might have the answers.
They may well do if any of them call and their sound works. But looks like we might have Brian on the line now. Brian looks wrapped up warm. How are you, Brian?
Big up, Brian.
I'm good, but not with the result. How are you two?
Yes.
I'm devastated, to be honest.
Same, to be fair. Yeah.
Listen, boys, I mean, this has been a problem for a long time. How many times are we going to create multiple attempts and not take them? Yeah. How many games are we going to have to start off on absolute fire, create non-stop, take so little, and then come out in the second half and give away 2 cheap goals, and in this case, kamikaze defending? How many times are we going to have this happen to us? Listen, we go back to Pete Potts last season at the Lane, games were done by half-time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had players that could cross the ball and the strikers that could finish it, game done.
He was
struggling
a lot
big
further along
time
in his project, though, to be fair, wasn't he? Like, he had his team then.
Well, mate, listen, even then, look at it, even in this second half of his first season, when he chucked Bentaleb and Mason on, and the emergence of Harry Kane, we weren't firing, and we were getting the job done second half of that season. It happens all the time. Listen, this is a problem that you see teams that get punished for doing this, and we're going through this time right now. I can't remember a team that's gone 5 games where they scored first and come out with 1 point.
I think it's a record.
It must be a record.
And in every single game, we've had enough chances to absolutely dominate and get the game done. We're ahead in possession. We're ahead in chances created. We're ahead on shots on target. We're ahead on everything. Can't finish. And unfortunately for Human Son, when James Maddison ain't there, we need someone to be able to feed him with quality. Mm-hmm. And there's been no one to feed him with quality. At the start of the game, Son looked electric. Some of his passing was fantastic. But if we don't get him the ball in the areas that he needs, he ain't going to do it. And second half, everyone was poor. But but Son in the first half was back. So was everyone, in all honesty. Destiny made his mistake, a costly mistake. Porro was. Everyone was doing great. The second half, it just goes to show the strength in depth at the moment is so bad, and we just keep overplaying these players, and we can't afford to rest them.
Yeah, we don't
because there's no quality there.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the thing? Just when you said about the 5 games going ahead in each one, the thing that's in common with those 5 games and the 10 games before them is that we would always go ahead. But the difference is now we don't have, in my opinion, we don't have the players on the pitch to keep it tight, like we did say 1-0 away at Luton or whatever, right? So that's the kind of depressing thing. But Brian, let's try and get some positivity going into Newcastle. How can we turn this round and get this win against Newcastle on Sunday? What needs to happen?
Well, hopefully Sarr is fit and can start. And if he isn't, instead of Højbjerg, we have to put Kulusevski back in the centre. For Kulusevski back in the centre with Lo Celso, play Johnson, even Richarlison. But today, I'm sorry, Kulusevski has been great for a lot of the times, but today, unfortunately, he's gone back to Dejan Predictability. Today is what I'm going to call him, because it's just the same thing over and over again. And do you know what it is? You look at it, by the way, you look at it, Aspatic and everyone watching. In his first season when he was played under Conte, he got an opportunity, he whipped it in. He got the ball in. It's that he had Son and Kane, obviously, but there was no hesitation. He got the ball when he knew what he was doing. Recently, and listen, he has been fantastic. His work rate, terrific. I think playing in the centre, he's been absolutely outstanding. But today, and even at Man City when he went out wide, there were times where he could cross the ball, but he's either taking this extra touch, or he's trying to go around the outside, or he's cutting back in. Just get the ball out of your feet and get it into the box. Go back to that kind of direct Kulu. I don't know what's happening with him.
Would you rather have Brian Hill than out wide? Is that what you're saying?
No, mate. Listen, you got Richarlison back. Whether you love him or hate him right now, put Richarlison on the left.
Fair enough.
Put Johnson on his preferred position in the right. There you go. In my opinion, I think Brennan Johnson's a lot better on the right than the left. But we're having to play him on the left because we obviously won Solomon. You've got Perisic. You've got the injuries we've got going on. He's having to play there. But I think he's more of a right-sided player and more devastating on the right.
Don't you think Richarlison looks more dangerous up top though, in that 9
He does, mate. But listen, Brian Hill is just so one-footed. Joe, I wouldn't mind if Richarlison coming on a bit earlier. I will back Ange to the very, very end. I think he's a wonderful manager. I think he's going to do great things if given the chance.
Yeah.
But his substitutions are now starting to be a little thing that I'm concerned about. Richarlison, if he'd come on a bit earlier, we needed someone with a bit of fight, a bit of passion, a bit of desire, which he does have. Whether he gets the goal return or whether he does give you that power, that shithousery and all of that. And we just didn't bring him on soon enough. And I just think against Newcastle, we're going to need some of that because they've got some bullies in that team.
Yeah. Is it time to maybe look at the youngsters? Because a lot of people are calling for Donnelly. And mate,
I'll be one of the first. Listen, Ashback, you know me long enough when I speak about Alfie Devine or actually specifically Alfie, which unfortunately can't help us right now.
Yeah.
But I go back to how I started this when I was talking to you about when Pochettino first came. When we had the bad eggs that he needed to rip out, people say about the youth and everything. He put Bentaleb and Mason in there. He put in young, hungry, and we're talking about the central midfield. I know people going Phillips and Dorrington. Oh, you can't put a youngster in there. Is that a hub? Try putting 2 in the centre of midfield to boss Premier League teams, and whether their careers ended in the success we thought they would be or not, until we got Wanyama and Dembele sorted, they did a very, very good job for us. Yeah. So it does work. Not saying we should just chuck every single one of them in, but when Pochettino left, we lost out on Edward, Makawende, through the club and through Pochettino not thinking they're good enough. But we've just seemed to give up on youth. We talk about creating this pathway to bring them in, and then when we have an opportunity to bring them in, there's not a player that's a roadblock. We're making our own roadblocks. Oh, they're too young. We can rock their confidence. What happens if they come on and actually perform well? Why do a lot of Spurs fans go, oh, you can't come on, you might rock his confidence? Every team in the Big Six are playing youngsters, whether it's through injury or they've seen something and played it. What is wrong with our football club trying to give youth a go again?
Yeah, Brian, look, I think you made some really good points. I'll just go back to what I said earlier, which is the reality is that Ange sees them in training every day, and there's a reason why he thinks it's better for Oliver Skipp to come on before Jamie Donnelly. I agree with you. I think when we were looking for some creativity in the last 10 minutes, why not throw him on? I completely agree.
He did say it.
But yeah, anyway, look, Brian, thanks so much. Really good points. We've got a few more people looking to come on, so
No
I'm going
worries,
to cut
guys.
away. But thanks so much. Speak to you again maybe after Newcastle, hopefully after a
Yeah,
win.
you certainly will. And listen, I'll just say, as always, Levy out.
Okay, mate, top man. Should just say, I think it was actually Tim Sherwood who first blooded Nabil Bentaleb and Ryan Mason. But to be fair, as Brian said, Poch did then give them the chance off the back of that. Alexander, one more time. Let's see if we've got your sound working, mate. How are you doing?
Oh.
No.
No.
This is like the Jimmy Kimmel, Matt Damon sketch. But Alexander, we've got no time for you, Alexander, unless your sound starts working again. Keep trying though. So we're going to go to Stellios at Tottenham Away TV. Stellios, how you doing, mate?
Still?
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me? Or have you got problems with me as well?
We can hear you, Stellios, mate. How you doing?
First time I've come on this channel without problems. Fantastic. Yeah.
Talk to us, man.
I don't often call in, but first of all, big up to you guys. Big up Ash, my brother. Barnaby, I remember you from back in the day on Spurred On, mate. Long time. You don't know who I am, but I remember watching you a long time ago.
No, thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Yeah, so I just felt I had to come on and speak about the situation with the team and that, and I'm just getting a bit agitated and a little bit infuriated with sections of our fan base at the moment who are questioning Ange, criticising Ange, and Ange could have done this, he should have done that. Nobody has got the qualifications to say what Ange should and shouldn't do. No fan, unless they're minimum UEFA B qualified and with at least 10 years of experience in the industry, have got a given right to say what Ange should or shouldn't do. Everyone can have an opinion, yes, I agree, and everyone can have a view, but there seems to be this mini agenda growing that his in-game management is flawed and he's too much attack and he should drop off a little bit and we should be a little bit more pragmatic. And what I saw from West Ham tonight was 2 lucky goals, which was a ricochet that landed to Bowen for the first goal, and Udogie just having a brain fart, not realising where Bowen was, and not making a decent pass back to the goalkeeper, and then they've capitalised on it. Other than that, West Ham don't score tonight. And then I look at Spurs, 75% possession, 23 shots, 7 on target, 10 off target, a passing accuracy of 91.5%. Anything above 88 is excellent. 91.5%. 8 corners. All our attacking metrics way outdo West Ham's today. What West Ham did tonight is essentially what Conte and Mourinho have been doing for years at Spurs.
Completely.
And our fans hounded those managers out because they're not good enough. They're turgid. Their football's boring. Yet David Moyes has come to Spurs and done exactly that and won the game. So if we were to change and do that, they're going to hound the manager out. So what is it that Spurs fans are looking for at the moment from this manager? Because for me, we don't have the players to meet the expectations of the start to the season that we had. We had a brilliant start, but the expectations got blown way out of control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone just needs to remember, we finished 8th for last season. We're an 8th place team. We sold Harry Kane. We didn't replace him. That makes us what? 14th, 15th place team?
Yeah.
We signed 4 or 5 players. That allowed us to push up the table to a better position. We lost quite a few of those players to suspension and injuries, hence why we dropped off. back to that 8th place, 14th place team, because that's what we are. But because of our attacking football and because of the way we go about it, it's kind of allowed us to maintain there or thereabouts in that European, places in the league.
Yeah.
If we change the way we play and we start being more defensive, number one, that's not our future. So what's the point of coaching it? Number two, we don't have the players to do it because when we did used to do that, these players let us down time and time again. The problem at Spurs for me is so simple right now. We don't have enough creativity. We don't take chances when we do take them, and we haven't replaced Harry Kane. We are not dynamic enough and creative enough in the final third of the pitch. This isn't the first time we've seen it. And chances are falling to players that are nowhere near good enough to wear the badge of Spurs. Richarlison missed a header from 6 yards out. He's rubbish. I've said it 1,000 times. He is pathetic that he's £65 million and we've got fans saying he'll come good. Give it time. I've seen that same miss from him 4 or 5 times this season. He doesn't deserve to be at this club. And it's not just him. There's others. Ange needs to clear it out. He needs to bring in his players. He needs 2-3 seasons. So if people are going to start criticising him now and people are going to start getting on his back now, then do you know what? Just be Ange out now, get it done with, and hound this guy out as well, because that's where it's going to end up. We've got to stay strong as a fan base. It's difficult, I know, and it needs patience. But if we don't do it, we are going to end up down the same path of failure. The last 23 years of Levy's been like that. Don't let Levy win. Demand he backs this man. Demand he backs him every window. And let Ange do the rest. And at that point, if he's backed properly, then we can say, right, this is on you, the manager.
Still,
I don't know how you guys feel, but I just can't handle the way some of our fans are going about about a manager.
Just a quick one, just like to bring it to present day. What do you think needs to really change for Spurs to get a result to stop the rot, as people would say, at home against Newcastle? What do you think we need to do differently?
Well, if I look at today's game, Ash, I feel that the wide players, the delivery of the ball wasn't good enough. The delivery of the passes into the box, whether it was on the ground or it was more in the air today, they just weren't hitting the target. So the quality of crossing needs to improve. But can you improve that in 1 week? Not really. You can't. And also, we don't have enough midfielders who score goals. Yeah. Back in the day, we had Dele Alli scoring, we had Son scoring, we had Kane scoring, we had Eriksen scoring. Lamella would pop up with the odd one. At the moment, we still seem dependent on 1 or 2 players, and we can't progress as a club like that. You need everyone to chip in if we're gonna, as you call it, stop the rot. But I don't think we created enough today clear-cut chances. I don't think we really got enough. It's the creativity with us. It's just the creativity. Even against Man City, we didn't create loads, but we were clinical.
That was the difference.
But that's where, to me, Stellios, just to say, like in the first kind of 3/4 of your monologue, I suddenly felt like built back up and I was like ready to take on Newcastle on Sunday. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. I just think it's like this isn't Ange's, and you mentioned it's not Ange's team. It's not Ange's squad, right? And it's not, and he needs time and he needs to get the players in. He's. I guess if we look at one positive of the last 5 games, he's had an opportunity to see, and he said this actually in some of his interviews. He's had an opportunity to see in real time, real match Premier League time, who can handle it and who can't. Facts. And I think he's gonna. I think if the opportunities are there to get money for some of those players who can't in January, I think he'll try and get that money, and he'll try and then spend that money on players who he genuinely believes can make us more creative. And I agree, without Maddison taking over Harry Kane's number 10 shirt and having the fucking balls to be like, I'm going to be the best player at this club, I'm going to be the creative like linchpin of this club, was absolutely key to that first 10 games. Because if he hadn't signed for us and had those balls, then I think we would be really, really struggling now, and we've missed him so much. Once we get him back, I think we'll be there or thereabouts again. And I hope Mickey van der Ven's hamstring is sorting itself out, because we had an incredible back four then as well. So I'm going to stick with how you made me feel, like really built up in that first three quarters, Stellios, and say everything's going to be fine. We're going to be all right. Andy's going to get this squad sorted to play the system and the style that he does. And I agree, he's a top manager, and I think it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
As long as Daniel Levy and the board back him, it always comes down to them, right? They've yet to back a manager. And what I mean by back isn't money. It's money, who and how that money is spent.
Time.
And time. They need to be given time. And this isn't a 1 year, 2 year fix. Yeah. This is a 3-4 year project. I think Ange can do it ahead of schedule, by the way. I think he can do it quicker. But if we're going to be, you know, a little bit conservative, give him 3 years to really sort this out. Because, you know, people say, oh, but, you know, injuries don't matter. You can't use it as an excuse. Well, hold on. The three clubs that have had the most injuries are Newcastle, Man United and Spurs. Newcastle got absolutely torn apart by Everton today. Everton, a relegation team. Yeah. Torn apart. Man United, yeah, they got a win yesterday, but they lost the two before that. So Newcastle, Spurs, Man United, we're all roughly in the same spot. So injuries do matter. That's why there's been this drop-off with those clubs. And I feel like, as well, a lot of our rivals, they're the ones that are kind of stirring it up, because they know if they stir it up, ha, you lost again, ha, the process is failing, ha. They all know we're at the start of a journey. They all know what we're going through, and they all know that these injuries and suspensions are costing us, right? Yeah. They know we've got a thin squad, and all it needs is 2 injuries, and it's difficult. They know this, but they're going to beat us because they want us fans to not be united. They want us to turn on the manager. And if ever there's a time to back a manager, it's this guy. He's brave, he's bold, he's got the right idea. And like you said, Barnaby, it's not his squad. It's not his squad. I praise him when we win, and when we lose, I'm not going to blame him. I know that might sound biased, but that's because I don't expect him to win a lot of these games. So when he does win, I'm like, oh, you've surpassed my expectation with these players. And today, mate, we absolutely owned West Ham.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
We owned them. We just couldn't create, and it's just frustrating because you know you deserve so much from it, but you've ended up with nothing, and that's football, right? That's how it is.
Stellios, thank you so much, mate. We've got a few more people looking to get on, so give us a call in after the Newcastle game. Hopefully it'll be my first victory whilst doing these watch-alongs on Sunday. Thanks again, mate. Really good points. I appreciate it. Guys, we've got about 400 people watching us live at the moment. Thank you so much. If you want to see daily content from me, please go to @BarnabySlater_. It's in the title. Give me a subscribe, and @Southview COYS to follow Ash's channel. Please do give us a subscribe, guys. That would be really great. We've got Michael coming on next. Michael, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you so much. How are you doing, mate?
Technician. Big up, Ash, my bro. Big up, Barnaby. Nice meeting you for the first time.
And you, mate.
Oh, boys, like, firstly, let me describe you my evening today, right? Today I went out with a couple buddies of mine, right? We gave this gift to my friend. We went to this simulator hub when you can drive F1 cars, in this big ass, thing, right? We spent brilliant time there, and then
fun.
It was like around, I don't know, like maybe 9 p.m. here in Poland, right? Which is 8 p.m. in England, right? And I told my friends, listen, guys, there is this like great pub nearby called Wembley, and they show Premier League games there, right? And I was like, let's go and watch Tottenham there. And they were like, okay, whatever, we'll go there, drink some beers, etc. It will be fun, right? I walk in there, and I kid you not, here in Poland, I saw a pub with like 60 people. 30 of them were West Ham fans, 30 of them were Newcastle fans, and me, Spurs fan, right? And you see Newcastle getting their ass kicked, right? And they are all bloody furious, right? And you see the West Ham fans, and they are clapping every single intervention by Fabianski, and everything, and they are cheering. And I'm sitting there watching this game, 1-0 up in the first half. I'm like, nah, I need to get out of here. Like, I have to get out of here because I'm literally furious. Like, you know, every single time I hear them clapping, you know, the Fabianski save, I'm like, fuck, you know, like I'm raging, right? And then the second half happens. And I kid you not, I was like so dejected, right? And I don't want to sound salty, like, you know, walking out of that pub, but I was literally furious. I waved my friends goodbye and went to get myself a KFC, right? And I'm standing there in that KFC queue, and I had to walk like, I swear, 20 minutes in like minus 10 degrees, right? And I kid you not, my shrunk balls were bigger than the whole West Ham club, right? Like, oh my God, I'm salty after this game. I'm not going to lie. I am absolutely furious after what I saw today.
Probably quite a lot of salt in that KFC, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, that's fair, mate.
Blood pressure boiling.
I mean, it's quite nice, but you know, but listen.
What went wrong? What went wrong tonight, Michael? Do you think? Like, why did we lose that game? Where, you know, he was right. Our last caller was absolutely right. Like, they just scored two kind of very fluky breakaway goals, basically.
Yeah, it's their goals are one thing, right? I kid you not, I didn't feel threatened by West Ham during that game. Maybe on one or two occasions where they actually didn't score, I felt that they are going to do something, right? Yeah. But those two situations, I never even saw them coming, right? It was just, they appeared out of thin air. That double bounce that happened between Davies and Romero that landed at Bowen's feet, literally ridiculous. Like, I don't know how to comment on that, right? And listen, big up to West Ham. I mean, big up. Like, they won the game. 3 points is theirs, whatever, right? Yeah. But I think rather than like pointing out that West Ham were lucky or not, right? I think we need to focus on ourselves. I think first of all, I really didn't like the fact that we were crossing so much into the box. I know West Ham play a low block, but if you look at the height of our players, right? I don't know how we are supposed to contest all the crosses, right? Sonny is not good in the air. That's the one thing that he has always been lacking. I think that throughout his Premier League career, he has like 4-headed goals, right? He's not that type of player to fight for crosses, right? Additionally, I don't think our wingers are even good at like claiming crosses, right? So as tough as it sounds, I think in this type of game, we should focus more on like trying to dribble through the defense or trying to shoot from distance. We actually have some like quite good long-range shooters, right? In Son, Lo Celso, clearly he's done it right twice in the previous 2 matches, right? I think Kulusevski can, like, he's not brilliant at it, but I think he can take a shot, right? I just don't think that crossing it in, spamming crosses into the box was the way to go, right? I'm talking like strictly in the second half, because I think in the first half we were really good. We were cutting them open, etc., right? But we only scored 1. But I don't think that the way to go in the second half was like reverting to that spam the crosses type of football, right? And especially what infuriated me is when we brought on Richarlison, we actually like stopped crossing. Then we tried to work the ball into the box, which I think if you bring on a striker, you need to then try crosses, right? You need to then utilize his strengths. Richarlison hasn't scored a goal with his hit for us. All of his goals were headers, right? So let's use that. But we didn't, right? So, and again, like, this is like purely offensive. I don't think we were bad defensively today. Like, there were a couple of mishaps, right? And that Udogie absolute brain fart, right? But I don't think overall we like performed badly in,
I agree, actually,
defensive wise, right? So it's really an infuriating loss for me, especially because it's coming on the back of those 4 like bad results. Maybe not counting City, because I think like getting a point away at City is really good, right? But like Wolves, Villa, and Chelsea, all of those happened in a row. I made a point, I think, like on one of the other channels, right? That if those losses happened like randomly, were spread out throughout the season, I don't think we would be as aggravated as we are right now as a fan base, right? It's because all of those happened in a row, right? We look at the Premier League table and we see 4 red X's and 1, silver gray dash, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue. So I don't know, boys. I'm gonna be honest. I came here to vent a bit.
No, that's fine.
Like,
That's what it's about.
you know, like I've been like listening to your opinions, guys. But what was your take on it, right? How did you look at this game? I think you kind of share my opinions, right?
Yeah, like just for me, I think in hindsight and having spoken to all of you guys, which has been really helpful for me in terms of getting me out of my basically huge funk. Yeah. I think it's important. It is important to remember, come back to reality. Yeah, I think what you said is didn't feel threatened actually by West Ham that much, and don't feel like Vicario had to make many saves. Destiny made pretty much his first mistake of the season other than the sending off. Vicario should have gone with his feet, went with his hands. And then obviously for the first goal, the 2 deflections are completely mad. You just don't see that happen very often. And we should have scored probably 2 or 3 goals in the first 20 minutes. So, I think actually if I'm going to be realistic about the last 5 games, we could and should have won all 5 of those games, and we haven't. So we're on a bad run. There's a bit of bad luck going around, especially when it comes to injuries and suspensions. I'm going to choose to retain my positivity and say it'll come good against Newcastle. Ash, what do you think?
I mean, if I'm being real clinical, I'm saying in the transition, I think we need to be a bit more quicker. I think sometimes we overplay it in the transition, because I was saying to Barnaby, the spaces that open up actually happen when they're not set, especially for a low block team. When they have the ball in your half, actually that's when they become most vulnerable. And I think that point, when Højbjerg's on the ball, certain times he needs to make that forward pass instead of like overthinking it and overplaying it. And not just him, there's other players as well that are responsible, but I'm just picking him out. And again, in that final third, in terms of like decision making, when it's time to do cutbacks, we're crossing it, or we're trying to hit it past a defender, where we need to kind of, like I said, instead of hitting it across the floor, cut it back to a player that's in space. Do you know what I mean? And it's those small details that, like Maddison was getting right. Do you know what I'm saying? That certain players, they have that football IQ. They know when to do, when to execute it, not to hold on to it too long. And actually, that's when you hurt teams. And that's why we're not actually clinical. And that's why Son is not getting so many chances in positions where he's actually free, but the ball's not coming to him to have an actual clear-cut chance. And that's what's letting us down. Sometimes as well, our concentration dips, in my opinion. And that's why we're losing the ball. And then other team gets confidence because we're just doing the simple things. We're not executing well and allowing teams back in. So we are our own biggest enemy at times. That's how I saw it anyway, for where it was.
Michael, but just before we go, I want to give you the chance to predict the score against Newcastle on Sunday. And I'm going to go with that prediction in my match preview that I'll do tomorrow or Saturday. So, Michael, what do you think the score is going to be? Are we going to stop the rot?
I don't know, man. Like I wish I was confident about the Newcastle game, especially because they just got slapped by Everton, right? But I don't know. Just something stinks with our performances recently, and it's really harsh to say, because it's not that I'm like overall disappointed with how we play. I think we are a dangerous team. We are good at pressing. We are good at turning the ball over, right? But the issue is we just lack that. We lack speed and we lack decisiveness, in my opinion. Just as you said, Ash, right? And especially I saw this today with Kulusevski, right? Like Kulusevski, after 2 brilliant performances against Villa and City when he was playing in the middle of the pitch, he got thrown out on the wing again. And I just feel like on the wing, he just lacks that decisiveness which he had playing in the middle, right? And also, like, quickly before I give my prediction, I promise like 30 seconds. But sorry, that
just wanted a score, mate.
I promise, like 30 seconds, right? One last thing. I think all teams struggle with injuries, right? But I feel like, especially in our case, people say that Perisic's injury doesn't matter, Solomon's injury doesn't matter because they are not like first team players. I disagree, because we already have a really young, inexperienced team, And a person like Perisic would be really useful to just stabilize the ship and provide that, burst of quality for 20 minutes, right? And I just think we lack bodies. The reason Skip is coming on because he's like the second most senior player on the bench, right? That's the issue that we have right now. That's the issue that we are struggling with. I think when some of those players come back, we will be better. So, like for the Newcastle game, I'm afraid we won't win, but I don't think we will lose. So, for me, the safest option would be to go for a 1-1 draw. I think
1-1 draw. I'm gonna go for 3-2 win, Ash.
Nice.
There's goals in it. I'm trying not to be emotional and trying to be logical, but it's very hard after a game. So, look, I never back against Spurs. I'll say, 3-2 Spurs.
Top man.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for calling in, mate. That was such a good chat. And thank you all for calling in tonight, guys. That's been amazing. I want to say to all of our callers, please do come and subscribe to the Spurred On podcast at @BarnabySlater_. I'd love to come and have you on my channel for some longer form interviews. Really great thoughts. And that's for all of you guys. Like, definitely drop me a subscribe, put some comments in, and I'll contact you and get you on the channel at @BarnabySlater_ or the Spurred On podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Ash, where can they find your channel? And you'll have people on your channel as well, right?
Yeah, Southview COYS. I'm always looking for people. I love people's opinions, debates. I think every opinion matters. There's no right or wrong. I don't know anything more or anything less than anyone else. So, yeah, come find me at Southview COYS, man. We're on more or less every day. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And guys, thank you so much for watching our watch along today, our post-match reaction, and our fan show. Do subscribe to We Are Tottenham TV. Press that bell button so you get the notifications every day about their amazing daily content here. Keep the faith. Everything's going to be all right. We've got the right manager in charge. It's just going to take a little bit of time. As he said from the start of the season, we're going to have to be patient. There are going to be ups and downs. Tonight was a big down. It's hard to see those lot celebrating, but we will be back and everything will be okay. Most importantly, come on, you Spurs.